There is something that happens in the span of 3 seconds that can keep a woman thinking about you for 3 full days. That is not poetic exaggeration. That is your brain chemistry doing exactly what it was designed to do. What should genuinely unsettle you, though, is this. The way most men embrace a woman does not create that effect. It destroys it. She steps back, something quiet settles in her mind, and without a single word being exchanged, you get categorized permanently, and you never even realize there was a test. Here is something that does not get said enough, and frankly, it should. Women form a physical impression of you, not over dinner, not through conversation, not through anything you carefully planned. They form it during the hug. That completely ordinary, completely unremarkable moment. You probably gave zero thought to the last time you greeted a woman. Research published in Comprehensive Psychology established that an embrace lasting at least 20 seconds produces a meaningful oxytocin release in both people. That is the hormone responsible for bonding, for trust, for the feeling of emotional closeness. Dr. Paul Zak, a neuroeconomist who has dedicated his career to studying this very mechanism, found that physical embrace specifically can raise the level of trust between two people by as much as 50%. Not your accomplishments, not your income, not your appearance. A hug, 50%. And yet, the average man approaches a hug the way he approaches something stressful and inconvenient. It is rushed, it is uncertain, it ends before it begins, or it swings the other direction entirely and becomes an experience she needs to escape from. There are 4 principles I am going to walk you through that women have never put into words, but are running through their nervous systems every single time a man puts his arms around them. These are the silent codes, the ones that determine whether she thinks about you later or forgets you entirely. By the time this is done, you will understand why certain men leave women slightly breathless from nothing more than a greeting, while others leave women quietly relieved it is over. One thing before we begin. The 3rd principle is the one that will genuinely shift something in you. It is the element almost no man ever considers. And once you hear it, you will understand exactly why some of your past hugs landed like wet cement. Do not skip ahead. Stay for it. It is worth it. So, let us begin with where everything actually starts. Most men believe the hug begins when their arms close around her. That assumption is costing them more than they realize. The hug begins the moment she watches you walking toward her. Think about what her nervous system is registering before a single word is spoken. A man with rounded shoulders moving toward her with darting eyes and a last-second decision about whether to go in for the hug at all. Arms that open in a way that says he is not sure he is allowed to. A kind of stumbling, apologetic energy that precedes the whole thing. Her body reads all of that. It reads it as hesitation. And hesitation is one of the most effective killers of attraction that exists. Now picture the opposite. A man who sees her, holds her gaze with an expression that communicates genuine warmth. Not intensity, not pressure, just the quiet message that he is glad she is there. He moves toward her with an unhurried, settled energy. His arms open at a natural moment because he has already decided. There is no ambiguity, no negotiation. That certainty is what causes something to stir in her before contact has even been made. Dr. Albert Mehrabian's landmark research into emotional communication found that 55% of what we actually convey to another person comes through body language alone. More than half of every emotional message you send has nothing to do with your mouth. The way you move toward a woman before a hug is a complete sentence. Make sure it is one worth reading. And there is one small detail here that almost nobody talks about. Just before you close the distance, allow a fraction of a second where you are near enough that she feels your presence, but your arms have not arrived yet. That tiny gap creates anticipation. Behavioral psychology tells us that anticipation activates the same dopamine pathways as the reward itself. You are giving her brain a small charge of excitement before anything has even happened. Walk toward her with calm and certainty. Hold gentle eye contact. Let your arms open with intention. Leave that one beat of space before you arrive. She will feel the difference even if she cannot name it. Now, the second principle, and this is where the majority of men make themselves completely forgettable in a single moment. Here is a sentence I want you to sit with. The pressure of a man's embrace communicates how he feels about a woman in a language that bypasses her conscious mind entirely. Her body receives it, her subconscious catalogs it, and the conclusion it draws will color how she thinks about you for days. When a man barely makes contact, fingertips hovering at the edges of her back like he is afraid to commit to the moment, she does not feel tenderness. She feels absence. That kind of hug communicates one thing clearly. He does not feel confident enough to actually hold me. It registers as weightlessness, and weightlessness leaves no impression. On the opposite end, a grip that is too forceful creates a completely different problem. There is a biological distinction between feeling held and feeling restrained. When pressure crosses into something she cannot easily exit, her sympathetic nervous system responds. Tension moves through her body. Her breathing changes instead of oxytocin creating warmth and connection. Cortisol moves in and turns the moment into something her body wants to end. Research from DePaul University into haptic communication points to what it describes as firm but yielding pressure as the ideal. Enough strength that she registers your presence. Enough gentleness that she never doubts she could pull away if she chose to. That combination is what produces the neurological experience of safety. And for women, safety is not the absence of attraction. It is the foundation of it. Hand placement carries its own language as well. Palms resting on her upper back speak to warmth and regard. Palms at her mid-back communicate ease and familiarity. One hand high on her back, one cradling the back of her head. That particular combination does something remarkable to a woman, and the reason for it lives inside the next principle. But before we get there, one more detail worth noting. The difference between flat open palms and cupped or fingertip contact is something women register immediately, even if they cannot articulate it. Full palms communicate openness. They communicate full contact and genuine presence. Fingertips communicate hesitation. This is not a matter of preference. It is neurology. The palmar surface of your hand is packed with nerve endings, and when it presses fully against another person, the brain interprets it as real connection. Partial contact gets filed as uncertainty. Use firm, yielding pressure. Use the full surface of open hands. Place them with intention. Your hands are already speaking. Make sure they are saying something worth hearing. And now, the third principle, the one I told you to stay for. This is the thing that separates a hug a woman forgets by evening from one she is still thinking about when she cannot sleep. This is the element that 95% of men have never once considered, and it is the most potent instrument in your entire physical communication toolkit. Breathe into the hug and then pause before you leave it. What happens when a man takes one slow, quiet breath while holding a woman? Not a performance, not a sigh, just a natural deep breath is genuinely remarkable. Her body begins to follow his breathing pattern. This is called respiratory synchronization, and it is thoroughly documented within interpersonal neurobiology. Dr. Daniel Siegel, clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA, has written at length about the way co-regulated breathing between two people produces a state of neural resonance. In practical terms, your unhurried breath sends a message directly to her nervous system. It says there is nothing to brace for here. You are safe. And when a woman's body receives that message inside a man's arms, that is when attraction stops being intellectual and starts being felt. Most men treat a hug like something to get through. Arms engage, arms disengage, move on. The entire exchange might last a second and a half. Nothing is transferred in that time. No oxytocin, no connection, no memory formed. You might as well have nodded from across the room. The pause before you release is where meaning lives. When the hug has reached its natural end, and you will feel when that moment arrives, instead of immediately stepping back, hold for one more second. Just one. That single extra second says something no sentence could carry. It says, I was not counting down. I was here with you. This meant something. She will feel that in a way that goes past thought. And here is something I almost kept to myself. When you take that slow breath and she is close enough to feel your chest rise and fall, a secondary process is quietly underway. She is breathing in your scent more fully. According to research from the Mantle Chemical Senses Center, a woman's olfactory system has a direct pathway to the limbic region of the brain, the area that governs emotion and encodes memory. Your calm breath causes her to take your scent deeper into the part of her brain where feelings are stored. She will bind how she feels in that moment. The safety, the warmth, the pull. She cannot quite explain directly to the way you smell. The next time she catches that scent, everything comes flooding back. This is why women sometimes say they cannot explain what it is about a certain man. They just feel something when he is close. It is not a mystery. It is neuroscience set in motion by one intentional breath and one extra beat of stillness. Breathe slowly during the hug. Pause before you pull away. That one adjustment will place you among a small number of men most women rarely ever encounter. The fourth and final principle is the one that turns attraction into something that stays. Every man thinks carefully about how to enter a hug. Almost none think about how to leave one. The exit is where the deepest mark gets made. Here is what most men do when a hug ends. They withdraw fast, like the moment has an expiration and they have already exceeded it. Eye contact breaks. They step back too far. Hands go into pockets. Whatever warmth was accumulating in those few seconds dissolves in an instant of clumsy retreat. The emotional residue of the hug gets wiped out before it even has time to settle. Here is what the exit should look like instead. Pull back slowly, not with theatrical slowness, not like you are in a fragrance advertisement, but at a pace that communicates that you are not particularly eager for this to end. As your hands leave her back, let them trail gently rather than lifting away cleanly. That sensation traveling across the nerve endings of her skin registers as lingering want. And here is what matters most. As your faces come close during that gradual withdrawal, because they will hold her gaze for 2 to 3 seconds and let a small, genuine smile arrive. Not a grin, not something performed, a quiet, warm expression that simply says, "That was good." Those 2 to 3 seconds of close eye contact following an embrace trigger. What Dr. Arthur Aaron's intimacy research identified as one of the most powerful bonding mechanisms available to human beings. Sustained mutual gaze releases phenylthylamine, a neurotransmitter connected to the sensation of romantic attachment. You are giving her brain a trace of falling in love chemistry in a 3-second window at the end of a hug. There is one more layer to understand here. The way you exit a hug programs her anticipation of the next one. When your ending is warm and connected and unhurried, her brain begins to associate your embrace with pleasure and emotional safety. Behavioral psychology calls this classical conditioning. The next time she sees you, her body will already be releasing feel-good chemistry before you even touch her, because it has already learned what comes after. The reverse is equally true. Abrupt, disconnected exits train her nervous system to expect an emotional drop after contact with you. Over time, without ever consciously deciding to, she begins to create small distances. Not because she dislikes you, because her body has been taught to protect her from the letdown that follows your touch. Exit the hug slowly. Let your hands trail. Hold her gaze with a soft, warm smile for 2 to 3 seconds. Make every ending feel like the quiet suggestion of a better next time. That is how you become someone she cannot stop returning to in her thoughts. Let us put it all together. Your approach begins communicating before your arms ever open. Move toward her with settled intention. Hold gentle eye contact and give that single beat of anticipation before closing the distance. Use firm, yielding pressure and open flat palms placed deliberately on her back because your hands are speaking whether you realize it or not. Breathe slowly during the embrace and hold 1 extra second before releasing, giving her nervous system the chance to synchronize with yours and giving her memory something to hold on to. Exit gradually. Let your hands trail softly and hold close eye contact with a genuine warm smile for 2 to 3 seconds, making the close of every hug feel like something she will want to find her way back to. None of these 4 things require you to be taller. None of them require money or status or a particular kind of face. They require presence. They require intention. They require the understanding that women experience attraction through how you make them feel, not through the story you tell about who you are. Every hug from this point forward is an opportunity, not just to say hello, not just to say goodbye, but to communicate without a single word. The thing most men never learn to say: I am someone who makes you feel safe and wanted and fully alive. Here is what I want you to do with this. The next time you embrace a woman tonight, tomorrow, whenever it is, apply just one of these 4 principles, only one, and then pay attention to what happens when you pull away. Watch her face. Notice if she stays half a second longer than she used to. Notice if her hand moves to her hair or if something shifts in the way she looks at you. You will see it. And once you see it once, you will never go back to the way you did it before. When that happens, come back and leave a comment. Not for me. For every other man who is going to read it and realize this is not theory. It works. And if what you just absorbed has started to open something in your thinking, if you are beginning to understand that attraction operates on a level most men never take the time to study, then you are ready for what comes next. There is a video on your screen right now called 4 Psychological Traits That Make Any Woman Chase You. Female psychology. Everything you just learned about physical presence is the foundation. That video builds the rest of the structure. The principles I gave you here create the spark. What is in that video turns that spark into something she cannot walk away from. That is not filler. That is the logical next step for anyone who is serious about understanding what genuinely moves a woman toward a man. Watch it now while this is still fresh. You will be glad.